This is Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life on a beautiful Monday morning, 9th day of September 2024. My name is Ayokunmi, and it's that time to get into the world of the papers. Take a look at the headlines that are making the rounds that have got Nigerians talking. Yes, this is freshly pressed. It's an interactive session, as it always is. So we're looking forward to you sharing your thoughts, your opinions, and of course, your feelings on the stories that we'll be talking about this morning. So come one and come all. The WhatsApp number to send those messages into 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. That's the WhatsApp number. You can also catch us on YouTube. We're streaming live right there at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. My analysts are in this morning to break it all down and make sense of everything going on in the papers this morning. Mr. C and, of course, AB Bozimo are with me today. Good morning to you, AB. Good morning to you, Mr. C. Great to have you.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C, and good morning to the long-suffering fellow Nigerians. Let's make this a most marvelous money-making Monday.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, AB. Good morning, Vegas. Let's make progress this week.
Let's make progress this week. We definitely have to. And, talking about progress, we can't talk about that without referring to the fuel queues, petrol scarcity, and so on and so forth, which unfortunately are still out there at the moment. I saw a couple of queues when I was coming in this morning. And we're going to begin in that vein, petroleum sector matters. Taking a story out of the Punch, Mr. C. I'm going to start with you on this one. And it says the Dangote refinery may resort to exporting its premium motor spirit, that's petrol, following the refusal of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the NNPCL, to be the sole buyer of the product. Interesting what is coming out of the NNPCL. I mean, was it not last week we heard the story where it was said that they would be the sole buyers of the product, at least for now, and then here we are right now.
Okay, thank you. It's very, very confusing, and we do not understand. We don't understand why this is going on. Now, there have been numerous contradictions, numerous statements that have been made about the confusion between the Dangote Refinery Limited and the NNPCL. Now, the Dangote Refinery Limited has said that it's ready to deploy its products within 48 hours. Now, we must remember that the NNPCL holds a 7.2% stake in Dangote Refinery Limited. Initially, it was supposed to be 20%, but Mr. Dangote confirmed they only paid for 7.2%. Now, Mr. Olufemi Shone, who is the spokesperson for the NNPCL, did confirm that the NNPCL had no intention to undermine a business in which it had a multi-billion-dollar investment. So it's hard to juxtapose their current position with the statements from their spokesperson. Now, the NNPCL has suggested that they will only pick up petrol from the DRL if the prices were lower than prices outside the country. Now, I don't know why there is an intention or some determination to continue to import petrol under any guise. For the longest time possible, we've complained that there has been no domestic or local refining of petrol, which was truly an aberration. We now have a business, we now have a refinery that can do all of this. And yet the NNPCL is still considering looking to outside markets to import petrol. How do you explain this to the average man on the street in Onitsha, the average man in Ado-Ekiti, the average man in Ogbomosho, the average man in Namora Koda, that it makes more sense from a business perspective to import petrol? And in all of this, sadly, the Minister for Petroleum, who incidentally is the president, has been quiet. He's been extremely quiet. The Ministers of State for Petroleum, Senator Lokobiri and Mr. Eko, have also been quiet. Now, interestingly, the regulators are also quiet. So everybody is quiet. We don't know what's going on. And Mr. Dangote is now saying Look, if you guys don't want to pick up petrol, not a problem. I will export the petrol. Now, what are the pros and cons of domestic refining vis-a-vis foreign refining? Now, when you refine locally and you allow the product to be sold in naira as opposed to dollars, you have ready products. You don't have shipping delays. You don't have added costs tacked onto it, such as MPA dues, freight costs, shipping costs. We're not paying for insurance on the voyage. We're not bound by time delays, because if you're going to ship in oil, ship in petrol, we're probably looking at least 2 to 3 weeks. But with this refinery here,
It's right here.
tops 96 hours from Lagos to any part of the country. Tops 96 hours. That's 4 days. And then with regards to importing from outside the country, you must find forex. Nobody's going to accept the Nigerian naira from you. And that is why for the past 2 to 3 years, the NNPC has largely been so important of petrol. Now, we can go on and on this story, but it makes no sense that the NNPC is even considering continuing to import petrol, given the fact that it has previously said it has a $6 billion or $6.8 billion debt it needs to repay. So the question is, if you don't pick up petrol from the DRL and you say you want to go outside, you're going outside to get the petrol with what money? 2, what the whole process of crude oil being taken out and refined. Why are we buying from oil traders when we can simply do a direct swap? Take the crude, swap, we agree the volumes, go along the lines of trade by barter, and we get petrol. We bypass this middleman or these oil traders. That has never been made clear. It's never been explained to Nigerians in a manner or in language they can easily comprehend, they can easily remember. The NNPC too is very quiet about how it intends to repay that debt. So look, we've waited a long time for this. Previous administrations, including this current administration, continue to hammer on the fact that once this refinery comes online, our local petrol issues will be a thing of the past. Now, incidentally, one of the ministers of state did promise that this weekend has just gone past,
Right.
the fuel queues will vanish.
So that was just on Friday we talked about this.
Yes. When I read the statement, I'm like, you either have a magic wand or you just see what pleases your soul. And no surprises, the queues haven't vanished. There still isn't petrol. And there's no indication when this will be. So you have a ready-made solution. Nobody wants to pursue it. And finally, there are no repercussions. People act with impunity. People act with complete disregard to the common good, to what would benefit the majority of the people, and nobody is held to account. How the NNPCL can even suggest that it has a discretion on whether to take the crude oil or not, the petrol from the refinery or not, baffles the imagination. At this critical point in time, given your staggering debt profile, shouldn't have any choices. Deal this immediate problem, ease the stress, because man hours are lost queuing up the traffic, productivity is suffering, and then our GDP continues to fall because people are spending valuable hours queuing up for something they should not be queuing up for. And you know what this? State governors also quite. Nigeria is truly an interesting place. This is truly an interesting time to be Nigeria. Well, let's see what the rest of the week has.
Let's see what the rest of the week has in store for us. AB, you want to weigh in before we jump onto the next story real quickly?
There are about 3 things concerning this story that jump at me. Number 1, the president, the current Minister of Petroleum, who doubles as the president of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has said nothing because in all likelihood, he has nothing valuable to share with Nigerians. Therefore, he is choosing instead to keep incommunicado on this very important issue. Second, I had long said that the Dangote refinery was never going to be the silver bullet to enter the vampiric heart of the NNPC. The man set up that thing as a business. He is not the African continent's richest man without having some elements of business acumen. He intends to make a profit. Now, I don't see personally why the NNPC should be insisting that his fuel must be cheaper, because they have a primary ability to make cheaper fuel simply by making the refineries, 1, 2, 3, 4, under their control, functional and producing cheaper fuel. So they have no right to insist on somebody else making fuel cheaper. They should make fuel cheaper and available, and if you like, undercut Dangote's business fundamentals. So at the end of the day, the NNPC is in its classic way displaying ineptitude, incompetence, inability, and insensitivity, and once again keeping Nigerians under stress in a very difficult time. I think the NNPC management, starting from the Minister of Petroleum, currently the president, should be sacked. He can remain the president in other things, but he's obviously unable to do the job involved with handling this oil industry.
All right, let's take a story out of the Premium Times, AB, and this one says, in the wake of the fuel subsidy removal by President Bola Tinubu, the monthly disbursement to the three tiers of government by the Federal Account Allocation Committee increased significantly. Now, based on the statutory sharing formula, the federal government receives 52.68% of the total sum, while the states and local government areas, the LGAs, receive 26.72 and 20.6% respectively. Now, however, a survey conducted by the News Agency of Nigeria in Bauchi, Jigawa, and Gombe states reveals that citizens have yet to feel the impact of the increased allocation, especially in mitigating the effects of the fuel subsidy removal. AB, isn't this another indication that more questions need to be asked closer to home, as opposed to what the federal is doing closer to home? What are these monies being used for? etc. etc.
100%. The headline is Nigerians not enjoying the benefits of increased allocation to the states. You see, Nigerians, let's pick up a mirror and look at it. As much as I am like every other Nigerian, with literally zero connection with what should be the good of my federal, my state, and my local government to me, as much as I have had to create my own personal government, giving myself electricity, giving myself water, giving myself roads in many instances, we still have a responsibility. The question now comes, how do we hold our elected officials accountable to us? Because literally by the numbers, before May 2023, 1.1 trillion was allocated to the states. Between June and December of 2023, that amount doubled, literally 100% more. You could talk about cost of living was changed by the cost of fuel being increased at the inaugural speech and all that, but surely there should have been some improvements. Unfortunately, for an assortment of localized reasons in the Middle Belt, slaughter and murder has been going on. In places like Rivers State, assorted puerile fights over structure and other things have been going on. In other states, different things. In Lagos, at least, you guys have been inaugurating 1 or 2 red and green and blue lines. So, hey, good on you guys. But in the generality of the country, that extra amount of money has not translated to improved conditions of living for people. People have experienced higher electricity and, in fact, less electricity, because we talked about band A to E. There has been no fuel. People are experiencing queues right now. There have been skyrockets in the cost of FX. So things that you used to import, you can't import. I say Nigerians right now are living through this mental health crisis of looking at things you used to like and simply ignoring them as if they don't exist anymore. That's how most of us are living. We pretend we don't like good things anymore. It's not because you don't, but because all of them have become unaffordable. Schools are just resuming. The situation in most people's hearts and homes is horrific because we're wondering, how do we pay the fees on these children who are resuming? So down to the states, what are the plans of the various state governments to actually ameliorate the sufferings of the people? It boils down to the fact that as a society, we are not organized. That famous NIN that they keep insisting we get, if there was a way to connect what you can benefit from the government through your NIN, nobody would tell you as a person to go and get your NIN, because that would be the way. In other developed nations that we claim we want to emulate, your social security number, for instance, or in the UK, I don't know what it is one means by which your progress and your connection with your government is tracked. Here, the NIN, they keep threatening us, we'll stop your phones, we'll do this, do that. Yet, terrorists will have the phones that they claim, and they will still be killing us. So if we want our increased allocation to sip down to us at the ground level, we the people must organize, put a modest set of demands in place initially, and approach world level, local government, and state governments to get those results. Right now, we're not enjoying anything increased. In fact, we're suffering more.
Thank you for those words, AB. You know, we need to take a quick breather right now. When we come back in, Serap is in the news, and we'll be talking about what exactly it is they're talking about right now. Keep it tuned to Freshly Pressed right here on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1.
This is a situation where poverty has seemed to rob us of initiative. And I understand. You see, when you are scrabbling just to literally stay alive, it is extremely difficult to aspire to. That's why Sarah is so honorable, because despite how hopeless it often looks, they at least go on record asking for things, demanding things, even things that they quixotically know will never come true. At least it will be on record that they said one day, if the record is ever reviewed, they will be on record as having done the right thing.
So see, let's
I'll race through it
very quickly so that we can get through the.
And I'll race through the rest so that I can do all 5.
All right, welcome back to Freshly Pressed this beautiful Monday morning on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. Ayokunmi here. Mr. C and AB also with me this morning, breaking it all down and making some sense of all the stories we're talking about. Come through and share your thoughts on WhatsApp on 0809 440 981 0809 440 981. Join us on YouTube as well. We're streaming at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Let me rush through a couple of messages before we get into more stories. Let me see who's talking to us here. Tunde says, the statement that the heart of man is desperately wicked applies to the vast majority of Nigerians. Wickedness breeds insane greed, deriving pleasure from being economically better than others and being able to lord over others while being worshipped. A society that promotes injustice, a fruit of wickedness, will continue to have the problems we have. Thank you for that, Tunde. Even as a more or less put it in a box, summarize. Yinka Bolu says, Mr. Z, please, is the average man in those areas you happily stated earlier ready to pay for the true market price of petrol? Have we even asked how much Dangote wants to sell his own petrol? It's not every time we make the issue a government and NNPC issue. Everyone's hands are not clean, not even Dangote's, and Nigerians are delusional. All or some, Yinka, clarify it. All or some. This one says, this is Max from Momoli, says, my thoughts regarding this NNPCL Dangote off-taking issue is the cost of production of PMS is high, and chances are he wants to sell at the actual market price, which may be high, perhaps over 1,000 naira to make profits. But the current price of fuel is 855 to 897. That's naira. So many Nigerians might not patronize him at that price. But he wants NNPCL to buy it at the real market price and subsidize it at the current pump price of 855, as they have been doing with imported products by marketers. That's an interesting thought right there. Mr. C, let's get back into the groove this morning. Heading into the Vanguard, like I said earlier, SERAP are in the news. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has urged President Bola Tinubu to use his leadership position and good offices to direct the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the NNPCL, to immediately reverse the apparently illegal and unconstitutional increase in the pump price of premium motor spirit PMS, popularly known as petrol, across its retail outlets.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. Just like AB was saying when we went on the break, I like syrup. I like the work they do, and time again, they've been able to obtain judgments that actually speak to the rights and to the rights of the people. However, in this particular instance, I'm sorry they're going to have to go to court. Now, what is SERP asking for? SERP is asking that the president, who also doubles as the Minister for Petroleum Resources, should reverse the recent increase in petroleum prices and then also probe the NNPCL. Well, I'm sorry to disappoint, Sarah. None of the two will happen. The price hike will not be rolled back. There's no indication that there's any desire on the part of this administration to look critically into the affairs of the NNPCL. So we look forward to hearing from Sarah. And really, there is no point going into the story because from the antecedents of this administration and even past administrations, they are not going to look critically into the affairs of the NNPC, despite the fact that it is urgent, it is needful, it's something that cannot be delayed any further. It simply will not happen, and they will have to go to court. So we are with the court process, and then we'll see what the court has to say about ourselves first.
Interesting times definitely ahead. And I mean, they have been called. Okay.
One word. You see, the point of this thing that they're saying, to me, despite, like Mr. C said, it ain't going to happen. But they are saying there should be a proper open probe into the idea that NNPC spends $300 million of bailout funds, has $6 billion debt, fails to remit. They are saying there needs to be openness, transparency, and to respond to one of our very wonderful messages, Nigerians are suffering for the inefficiencies, again, of those in office. Not all of us are in those offices. This is why, as a non-office member, I insist that Mele Kyari and the entire management of the oil sector in Nigeria should be sacked, starting with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is the current Minister of Petroleum. In that regard, he is not functioning. So no, we are not all, how did he put it, all complicit. You have no say. You're in the studio. I have no say. I'm not there. Those in the oil industry are not doing the right job, and they're making the rest of us suffer for the inefficiency. Once again, NNPC shouldn't quarrel with Dangote, bring the fuel at the low price that they insist it can be sold by making the refineries under their care work.
All right, let's jump into the vanguard and talk about telecoms. Now, workers in the nation's telecommunications industry under the aegis of the Private Telecommunications and Communications Senior Staff Association, that's PTECSSAN, that's a mouthful, will Monday, that's today, begin an indefinite nationwide strike over sack and poor working conditions, among others. Now, among the employees going on strike include field maintenance engineers, transmission engineers, customer service engineers, fiber engineers, and other critical staff. Now, there are fears that this strike could disrupt telecommunication services nationwide if not resolved completely. It seems to be the season of strikes, and more.
Please, let me just say to PTECSAN, I'm sending out an SOS, i.e., save our skits. The one thing Nigerians are enjoying, the ability to watch skits on our phones in the heat of what we're going on. Telecoms workers want to take it from us. Ejo, please save our skits. That's on a lighter note. In all honesty, they are complaining about a number of labor union related things, including some sacks of some workers that they feel were not done properly, the inability seemingly for them to join unions, and the affecting the Pension Act and National Health Insurance. There are issues of you see, even mosquitoes are going on strike here. So they are trying to say, look, if these conditions are not met, they'll go on strike. I think strikes may not be the way, but it's important that the companies too come to the table, because it will help nobody. And even without, I'm talking skits on the lighter note, your bank transfers, your Zoom calls like I'm doing right now, so many other things that actually depend on the backbone of the telecoms could be disrupted. So this is a significant sector. I would urge those authorities to come together in a cordial, courteous manner with the workers, who should also remain cordial and courteous, and resolve this. Once again, save our skits.
All right, thank you for that, AB. JP on WhatsApp says NNPC doesn't need to be the sole buyer. Any marketing company can take from the refinery and she exports her balance. We must just ensure local crude supply for PMS be sold locally to a willing buyer. We give NNPC too much credit. Cheers to you too, JP. Ajayi Oloniloa says this is nothing but a conspiracy against the well-being of the masses for government to refuse to refine petrol locally and yet prevent Dangote petrol from being sold to the public, even as the suffering continues at filling stations. Tony from Marine Beach says, why is it that systems aren't allowed to run seamlessly in this country? Why do we always have everything shady around oil in this country? Why can't the NNPCL simply allow Dangote to run and sell at whatever rates and focus on revamping her refineries as well as give crude to the modular refineries to create healthy competition? Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Mr. C, let's jump into this one because time is absolutely racing by. And it's coming out of the Nigerian Tribune, where it says, barring last-minute change of decision, President Bola Tinubu is likely to dissolve his cabinet this week. I thought he had a working team, perfect team. What's going on?
Yes. So this this story is quite shocking and sounds speculative, because just on Friday or Saturday, the president was telling Nigerians in China that one, his trip was a resounding success. It was very successful. And actually, he had the best team he was working with. So my question is this. If you have the renewed hope agenda, you have the best team you're working with, what are you seeking to change? You don't change something that is working. You don't repair something that's not broken.
Mm.
So again, is this a minor shuffle? Is this a major shuffle? And why is it taking so long? Because there seems to be a bit of contradiction. If you have a best team and you believe they will deliver on your mandate, right? What's the hurry in changing them now? You're here for 4 years. They can easily ride through the 4-year term with you. So there's been no signal from that end that they want to change anything. And I'm choosing to disregard the Tribune report and go with what the president has said. He has the best team working with him, and I'm looking forward to them delivering on the renewed hope agenda.
The Avengers and Justice League hybrid. AB, 30 seconds.
I wonder, I mean, according to the story, he'd like to dissolve the cabinet. One of these, we will soon, an irrelevant story, meaningless story, and most especially meaningless to Nigerians, because according to them, he's coming from China, about to go to New York. He is not unaware of the criticism trailing some of the ministers. Trailing some of the ministers? I don't know about some over their performances and ready to improve the performance. So, as I said, it's mixed signals. Fact, Nigerians just want good services. Whether you have no ministers, whether you are the only minister, whether they're working, let's enjoy the benefits of being Nigerians. That's all we ask. If you want to raise stones like the Bible did and make them do the work, do so. Let Nigerians enjoy the benefits of worthy leadership.
All right, let's round up with messages. Oluwaseyi says, to put my thoughts plainly on this matter, the NNPC, and since the new iteration, the NNPCL is a cesspool of corruption. No government has, or would be willing to probe it because it appears to be the cash cow of every government in power. The fact that more than half of our presidents since 1999 had been the return, or had been since the return of democracy. I don't know if that's what you're saying. But thank you for your message. Lakon says, if the NNPCL wants cheap fuel, then they have capacity to supply Dangote with crude feed at cheaper cost for domestic consumption. Now we can see why our refineries can't function all these years, or haven't functioned all these years. It's a deliberate act for the people benefiting from importing. Let me see. Yinka says, we need to correct this wrong notion by some of the listeners that NNPC is stopping Dangote Refinery from selling PMS at the true value. After all they've said, he's free to anyone. Let's all head to Ibeju and buy now. I just don't want to hear it's too expensive because he's not in the business of charity. On his cabinet reshuffling, are we happy with the sets that are there right now? Hey, Yinka, I mean, he said he has the best team, so I don't know. I don't know, really. And Wally says, I agree with AB. The NNPCL is clouded with unnecessary corporate ego. And rather than work with Dangote, would stifle its business. The current pump price of PMS vis-a-vis the economic reality is not sustainable. That's Wale Adetokunbo. Thank you so much for your message, Wale. And we need to call it a morning on Freshly Pressed. It's been a pleasure having you on, AB and Mr. C. Thank you so much once again.
Have a wonderful week ahead, Mr. C. Do have a great day. And all of the wonderful listeners, let's keep fit because there's going to be a lot of walking in the future. Some towns look like a ghost town right now. No cars on the roads, but it's all good. Nigerians shall be the fittest people in Africa.
Amen to that.
Thank you for having me. Nigerians, we will prevail. We will put this behind us.
Indeed, we will.
Continue to stick it in.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so much for your thoughts. And of course, keeping it tuned to Smooth 98. But we don't go anywhere at 8:15. It'll be time to take a walk into the locker room. Tego will be in for sports news and a whole lot more. Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. All right, AB. Thank you so very much. Have a safe trip.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch. God bless you guys.